So James, not to be confused with James, who was the half-brother of Jesus. That James wrote the New Testament letter that's named James, and he was the primary leader in the church of Jerusalem. Not that one. And he wasn't the other James, James the son of Alphaeus. That's not the one we're talking about either. Rather, this James was John's brother. This was the son of Zebedee and Salome. Matthew chapter 20. When the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor of him. "What is it you want?" he asked. She said, "Grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom." "You don't know what you're asking," Jesus said to them. "Can you drink the cup that I'm going to drink?" "We can," they answered. Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink from my cup. But to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father." Well, when the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." So like many of us, James' parents influenced him in two directions. Positively, they influenced him. Positively, he had drive. James had ambition. He had confidence. But negatively, he was power hungry and he loved to be first. James was the older brother of John, which is why his name usually appears first in the Bible. The gospel writers mention these two men in this order. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother. You can always tell it's the little brother, right? James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother. And being the eldest, James had these rights that were well-known traditions within Israel. And James understood those privileges, and James used those privileges. The second factor that influenced James was the way that his father Zebedee exerted influence within the Jewish community. That type of influence comes with wealth. And that likely explains why James' family knew the high priest personally in Jerusalem. Only people that had money had that type of access to the most powerful man in the Jewish community. So that's Zebedee. Salome's his mom. She's no wallflower. She had the audacity to walk up to Jesus with her two sons and say, "I want one to sit at your right, I want one to sit at your left. When you ascend your throne." Any questions? Understand, of course, that Salome has no idea that Jesus' kingdom was not going to be this earthly kingdom. Well, at this point, she and Zebedee did not have any way to comprehend that Jesus was building a heavenly kingdom. And when I look at her motives, I think they're selfish. And I think that her methods are purely political. And so, as we look at James, I think that we see a man who is a chip off of both blocks. They have influenced his life in some good, positive ways, but they have also influenced his life in a way that he sees he is the most important person in the whole wide world, and everything should be revolving around him. Zebedee's capabilities and Zebedee's leadership skills as an astute and a successful businessman, and then Salome's own manipulative personality contributed to what James became. James was uninhibited, he was bold, he was self-confident, he was highly motivated. Those are all good qualities. He was also brazen, self-centered, materialistic. So, how do you handle position and how do you handle power? What do you do when you're put in a place of authority? You know, many people want to look important, or to look smart, or talented, or trendy, or rich, or whatever our desire may be, to look good. And so for many people, it's a day-by-day struggle. For James, this was definitely one of his weaknesses. He wanted to look good in front of everybody else. Early on in this new relationship with Jesus Christ, James became part of this tight inner circle that included Peter, and included his little brother, included John. And these three men had a very unique and a very special position. For example, when the Lord healed Jairus' daughter, he allowed only Peter, James, and John to enter into the synagogue ruler's home, while all the other ones were on the outside looking in. And as we follow James' journey with Jesus over the next couple of years, it's very clear that this position of prominence went straight to his head. James loved the limelight. James' power and his position reached its zenith one day. So Jesus goes, he chooses this inner circle of three to share in this glorious transformation experience. It's an incredible manifestation of Christ's glory. And Matthew reports that Jesus' face shone like the sun and his clothes became as white as light. And while they're basking in this just absolutely incredible experience, they actually saw Moses and they saw Elijah materialize before their very eyes as they're speaking to Jesus. That's pretty big. And then they heard God speak. The bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice came out of that cloud. And here's what the voice said: "This is my son whom I love. With him I'm well pleased. Listen to him. I mean, this is a huge deal for a man who already has a big problem with a big head. He is one of three in the whole wide world and all of history who gets to see this. And predictably, I don't think he handled it all that well. Nevertheless, Jesus has big plans for James, and strange as it may seem, this was part of the divine curriculum. So before Jesus went to the cross, James had another incredible, and this time was a humbling experience. It's with Peter and John, and the Lord enters into the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus goes in there and he is pouring out his heart in agony, and he once again chooses these three to go in there, high honor. Unfortunately, they couldn't stay awake for just 1 hour while Jesus was in such anguish that his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. And all three of these men, exhilarated and excited on the Mount of Transfiguration. Just the three of us. Well, Jesus was there too. And now they're in the garden. They lost interest. They fell asleep. They were overcome by sorrow when Jesus went alone to pray.